Did you know Elvis Presley couldn't read music? Or that he only ever won Grammy Awards for his gospel recordings? How about the fact that his famous black hair was dyed, his natural color being sandy brown? We think we know the man, the icon. We see the jumpsuit, the sneer, the swiveling hips. We hear the big, booming voice that changed the world. But the real Elvis, the person behind the legend, is often hidden in plain sight. He's not in the grand gestures or the chart-topping statistics. And he's in the small things, the tiny, unexpected moments tucked away inside his recordings. A breath, a laugh, a crack in his voice, a whispered word. These are the moments that give us chills. They are unintentional, unpolished, and utterly human. They are the sound of a man, not a myth, making music. These are the glitches in the matrix that reveal the truth. They are the perfect imperfections. Number 25, why was a mistake left in a million-selling record? The master take of Are You Lonesome Tonight was recorded at 4 in the morning. Elvis insisted the main studio lights at RCA Studio B in Nashville be turned off, leaving only a small light over his microphone. The song was a personal favorite of Colonel Tom Parker's wife, Marie, which is the main reason he agreed to record the old 1926 ballad. The famous version we all know, the one with the laugh, was the fifth take. It was April 4th, 1960. Elvis was fresh out of the army. The world was watching. Would he still have it? This session was part of the Elvis Is Back album, a statement of intent. He was no longer the wild kid from Memphis. He was a mature artist, or at least that was the plan. The session was long. The musicians, Nashville as a team, were professionals, but even they were tired. They'd been cutting tracks for hours. Then came Are You Lonesome Tonight? It's a strange song. It's part pop ballad, part spoken word melodrama. Elvis navigated the singing portion with his usual grace. Then came the spoken bridge. He's in the dark, reading the lines. The mood is somber, theatrical. I wonder if you're lonesome tonight. He gets to the line and the stage is bare and I'm standing there. In the quiet, dark studio, it's enough to break the spell. Elvis cracks. A small smile forms on his lips. You can hear it in his voice before the sound comes out. Then a genuine, unforced laugh escapes. He taps the microphone stand, a nervous tick. I'm sorry, he says, his voice thick with amusement. He tries to regain his composure and finish the take. The moment is at 1 minute and 38 seconds. It's a mistake. A clear, audible error. In any normal session, the producer, in this case the legendary Chet Atkins, and engineer Bill Porter, would have stopped the take. They would have said, let's go again, Elvis. But they didn't. They let the tape roll. And when it came time to choose the master take to press to vinyl, they chose this one. Take 5, the one with the laugh. Why? Because it was magic. That single, spontaneous laugh did something 100 perfect takes could not. It shattered the polished facade of the recording. It ripped away the curtain of celebrity. For a few seconds, he wasn't Elvis Presley, the global superstar making his grand return. He was just a guy in a dark room late at night trying to be serious and failing. It was a moment of pure, unscripted humanity. The contrast between the heartbroken, lonely words of the song and the warm, genuine sound of his laugh is what gives you chills. It's the sound of the real person breaking through the performance. RCA was nervous about releasing it because they thought people would see it as unprofessional. They were wrong. The single sold over 2 million copies. People loved the mistake. It made the song more intimate, more real. It was a secret shared between Elvis and the listener. It became a moment so iconic that in his later live performances, he would often deliberately play up the laugh, making it part of the act. But on that original recording, it wasn't an act. It was a perfect accident. Number 24. What does a single breath tell us about a revolution? Sun Studio in Memphis was not a sophisticated place. It was a small, oblong room at 706 Union Avenue that used to be the Memphis Recording Service. Sam Phillips, the owner, wasn't a technical wizard by Nashville standards. He was a visionary with a great ear. He famously used a technique called slapback echo, using two tape recorders to create a fast single repeat echo that became the signature sound of rockabilly. He didn't invent it, but he perfected it for his needs. The recording of Baby Let's Play House on February 5th, 1955 was not a sterile, planned-out affair. It was raw energy captured on tape. Elvis, Scotty Moore on guitar, and Bill Black on upright bass were still figuring things out. They were kids inventing a new language. Baby Let's Play House was a cover of an R&B song by Arthur Gunter. But Elvis didn't just cover it, he dismantled it and rebuilt it in his own image. He sped it up. He injected it with a nervous, almost frantic energy. And then he added something that wasn't in the original. A hiccup. Listen at 48 seconds in. He sings the line, "You may go to college, you may go to school." A stutter. It's not a word, it's pure sound, a vocal tick that would become one of his trademarks. It sounds like a mistake, a singer catching his breath. But it was deliberate, it was attitude, it was a punctuation mark of pure, unadulterated rebellion. This wasn't the smooth crooning of Perry Como or Frank Sinatra. This was something else entirely. It was raw, suggestive, and a little bit dangerous. You know, that little hiccup was a rejection of the polished pop music of the day. It was the sound of a young man who couldn't contain his energy, so it just burst out of him in these strange, rhythmic gasps. It's a moment of improvisation that defines the entire performance. It says more about the birth of rock and roll than any history book could. It's the sound of rules being broken. Sam Phillips knew what he had. He didn't try to clean it up or ask for another take. He recognized that the imperfection was the point. The hiccup, combined with his playful, almost sneering delivery of the lyrics, transformed the song. It became a national country chart hit, Elvis's first. It was a sign that this new sound, this fusion of blues, country, and pure teenage angst was about to explode. That tiny gasp of air at 48 seconds wasn't just a vocal flourish. It was a shot fired. It was the sound of a new world beginning, one where the raw, untamed energy of youth was finally given a voice. And it gives you a chill because it's the sound of a fuse being lit. Number 23, Can You Hear a Man Change His Mind? Suspicious Minds was recorded in the early morning hours of January 23rd, 1969, at American Sound Studio in Memphis. This was not the polished corporate world of Hollywood. This was a gritty, soulful studio run by Chips Moman. Elvis was there to reclaim his career. The '68 comeback special had shown the world he was still a vital force. Now, he needed a hit record to prove it. The pressure was immense. The song itself, written by Mark James, was a complex production with a unique time signature change. But the most memorable part of the song was a mistake. The plan was for the song to fade out at the end, a standard practice for pop songs of the era. If you listen to the master take, that's what happens. Around the 3-minute and 30-second mark, the song begins to fade. The band is vamping, the backing vocalists are singing, and Elvis is ad-libbing over the top. It sounds like the song is over. But Elvis wasn't done. He was feeling it. The energy in the room was electric. As the sound was fading on the control room monitors, Elvis, out on the studio floor, just kept singing. He was caught in the moment, pouring every ounce of emotion into it. Chips Moman, the producer, heard what was happening. You know, he saw the passion, he made a split-second decision, he yelled at the engineer, faded back up, he's still going. And that's what you hear on the record. The song fades out, and then, unexpectedly, it swells back in. The fade in happens around 3 minutes and 50 seconds. It's a jolt. It breaks the rules of conventional pop song structure. And it's absolutely thrilling. When the music comes back, Elvis is singing with a raw, desperate intensity he hadn't shown in years. Caught in a trap. I can't walk out. It's no longer just a performance, it's a catharsis. You can hear him pushing his voice, living the lyrics. This was not the movie star Elvis. This was the Memphis Elvis, the hungry Elvis, fighting his way back. The decision to fade back in was a stroke of genius born from chaos. It transformed the song from a great pop record into an epic anthem of paranoia and passion. That moment gives you chills because you are hearing a producer's spontaneous decision in real time. You are hearing an artist who is so lost in his own creation that he ignores the conventions of recording. The fade out and fade in structure became the song's most famous feature, a hook as powerful as the chorus. It was a happy accident that perfectly mirrored the song's lyrical theme of being trapped and then breaking free. It was the sound of Elvis Presley against all odds coming back to life on tape. Number 22, How Does a Voice Fill an Empty Room? January 10th, 1956, RCA's recording studio in Nashville. This was Elvis's very first session for a major label. He was just 21 years old. He had left Sun Records behind. Now he was playing in the big leagues. The expectations were astronomical. The song was Heartbreak Hotel, a dark, moody track he co-wrote based on a newspaper article about a man's suicide. It was unlike anything on the radio. It was slow, bluesy, and full of despair. The executives at RCA hated it. They thought it was a downer, a career killer. To create the song's eerie, cavernous sound, producer Steve Scholes and engineer Bob Ferris decided to get creative. RCA's Nashville studio was in a former church, and it had a long, straight hallway with a great natural reverberation. They placed a speaker at one end of the hallway and a microphone at the other. They then fed the signal from Elvis's vocal mic out to the speaker and recorded the sound that the microphone at the other end picked up. This was a primitive, physical way of creating echo long before digital effects. It was pure atmosphere. But the real chill comes not from the technology, but from the performance. Specifically the way Elvis sings the word lonely. Listen, at 1 minute and 22 seconds, he sings the line, where broken-hearted lovers cry away their gloom. Then comes the refrain, so lonely they could die. When he hits that word, lonely, his voice drops into a lower register. It's not just a word, it's a sound that embodies the feeling. The studio's hallway echo takes his voice and lets it hang in the air, stretching it out until it sounds like a ghost's wail. In that single word, you can hear the vast, empty space of the titular hotel. You can feel the isolation. His delivery is filled with a weariness that seems impossible for a 21-year-old. It's a performance of incredible maturity and intuition. He's not just singing about loneliness, he is sonically creating it. He's using his voice as an instrument to paint a picture. The way the echo catches the end of the word, making it dissolve into the ether, is haunting. This was his introduction to the world outside of the South. And he chose this song, this dark, strange, atmospheric piece of music. That one word, lonely, drenched in primitive echo, was a declaration. It told the world that he was not just a rockabilly kid. He was an artist, a vocalist of incredible depth and nuance. You know, it gives you chills because it's the sound of a young man finding the perfect way to express a complex adult emotion. It's the sound of a legend being born, not in a flash of light, but in a long, dark, echoing hallway. Number 21. Can a Scream Be Music? The soundtrack for the 1957 film Jailhouse Rock was recorded at radio recorders in Hollywood. This was the height of Elvis mania. He was the biggest star in the world. The title track, written by the brilliant duo Jerry Lieber and Mike Stoller, was designed to be a showstopper. It was a tightly constructed piece of rock and roll, with a driving beat and a clever chord progression. It was a guaranteed hit, but Elvis wasn't content to just sing the song, he had to inhabit it. The recording session on April 30th, 1957 was all business. These Hollywood sessions were efficient and professional, but Elvis brought a dose of Memphis chaos with him. He was full of energy, bouncing around the studio. The song tells the story of a party in the county jail. It's a fantasy, a piece of pop fiction, but Elvis sings it like he was really there. The moment comes at 1 minute and 45 seconds. The song has been building a relentless driving rhythm. After the lines, the whole rhythm section was the Purple Gang. The music pulls back for a split second. A space opens up, and into that space, Elvis unleashes a raw, guttural scream. It's not a sung note. It's not a word. It's a pure, primal sound of explosive energy. It's the sound of a caged animal breaking free. That scream is one of the most electrifying moments in his entire catalog. It's completely unexpected. It tears through the fabric of the well-made pop song. It's the sound of rock and roll in its most undiluted form. It's pure rebellion, a burst of energy that can't be contained by musical notation or lyrical structure. It's the sound of freedom within the confines of a jailhouse. Lieber and Stoller were brilliant songwriters, but they didn't write that scream. That was all Elvis. It was his instinct, his understanding of what the song needed. It needed a moment of chaos, a moment where the performance transcended the composition. The scream elevates jailhouse rock from a great song to an immortal one. It's the emotional climax of the track. It gives you chills because it's so raw and unexpected. In a highly controlled Hollywood studio environment, Elvis managed to channel the wild, untamed spirit of his Sun recordings. It's the sound of his primal energy, an energy that couldn't be tamed by fame, money, or movie scripts. It's the sound of the king reminding everyone exactly why he wore the crown. Number 20. What's hiding in the final note? Love Me Tender was not a rock and roll song. It was a ballad based on the Civil War era folk song Ara Lee. It was written for Elvis's first movie, originally titled The Reno Brothers, but renamed Love Me Tender to capitalize on the song's success before the film was even released. The recording took place on August 24th, 1956, at 20th Century Fox's Stage 1 in Hollywood. It was a different environment for Elvis. No Scotty and Bill. Instead, he was backed by studio professionals like guitarist Vito Mumolo and the Ken Darby Trio on vocals. The song is simple, almost a lullaby. Elvis sings it with a tenderness and vulnerability that surprised many people who only knew him from his raucous hits. He treats the melody with a gentle respect. His vocal is soft, breathy, and incredibly intimate. He sounds like he's whispering the words directly into the listener's ear. The entire performance is a masterpiece of understated emotion, but the real magic happens on the very last word. The final line is, "For my darlin', I love you, and I always will." The song is in the key of C. The final note on the word will should resolve cleanly. But Elvis does something remarkable. He lets his voice dip down, almost to a bass register. It's a gentle, resonant hum that seems to come from the very depths of his chest. It's not a showy, powerful note. It's the opposite. It's a quiet, profound expression of sincerity. That final note, a soft, rumbling sound, is what makes the performance unforgettable. It's a moment of incredible vocal control. It's as if he's sealing the promise of the lyrics with this final, deep vibration. It gives the simple song a weight and gravity it wouldn't otherwise have. It's a sound of pure, unwavering devotion. You can hear the slight natural vibrato in his voice as the note decays into silence. It's an incredibly intimate and personal moment. It gives you chills because it's so unexpected. After the soft, high melody of the song, this sudden drop into his lower register is a beautiful surprise. It's a glimpse of the incredible vocal instrument he possessed. He wasn't just a shouter, he was a vocalist of immense range and sensitivity. That one final note contains all the tenderness and sincerity of the entire song. It's a perfect ending, a quiet declaration that feels more powerful than any loud proclamation ever could. It's the sound of a promise being kept. Number 19, Why Does a Rich Man Sing a Poor Man's Song? By 1969, Elvis was a wealthy man. He lived in a mansion. He owned private jets. He was far removed from the poverty of his childhood in Tupelo, Mississippi. Yet, in January of that year, during the legendary sessions at American Sound Studio, he chose to record In the Ghetto, a song written by Mac Davis about the vicious cycle of poverty and violence. It was a risky move. Social commentary was not his usual territory. Radio stations were nervous about the song's subject matter. The recording, produced by Chips Moman, is a masterclass in storytelling. The arrangement is sparse, built around an acoustic guitar and a string section that adds a sense of tragic grandeur. But the power of the song rests entirely on Elvis's vocal performance. He doesn't oversing it. He doesn't inject it with melodrama. He sings it with a quiet, somber empathy that is absolutely heartbreaking. The moment that stands out is in the first verse. He sings the line, "And his mama cries." He delivers these 4 words with a profound sense of weariness and resignation. His voice is gentle, almost a whisper. There is no judgment, no pity, just a stark, factual statement of sorrow. You can hear the Memphis in his voice, the slight southern drawl that he had sometimes tried to smooth out for Hollywood. Here it adds a layer of authenticity. When he sings, "And his mama cries," he's not just singing a lyric. He's channeling the memory of his own mother, Gladys, who had died just over a decade earlier. He's tapping into his own experiences of poverty, of being the poor boy looking in from the outside. You can hear a lifetime of struggle and loss in those 4 simple words. His delivery is so understated, so devoid of artifice, that it becomes devastatingly powerful. It gives you chills because it feels real. This isn't Elvis the superstar. This is Elvis the boy from Tupelo, who grew up in a 2-room shotgun shack. He understood the world Mac Davis was writing about. He had lived on the fringes of it. His performance is a bridge between his own past and the story he is telling. It's a moment of profound empathy where the singer disappears and only the story remains. In that quiet, mournful line, Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll, becomes the voice of the voiceless. Number 18, "Can You Hear the Joy of Being Reborn?" The 68 comeback special was a do-or-die moment. Elvis had spent most of the 1960s making a string of forgettable movies with mediocre soundtracks. His musical relevance was fading. The television special, officially titled Elvis, was his chance to remind the world who he was. The most electrifying part of the show was the sit-down segment where Elvis, dressed in black leather, played and sang with his original bandmates Scotty Moore and DJ Fontana in an informal, impromptu setting. It was raw, dangerous, and utterly captivating. During this segment, filmed in Burbank, California, in late June 1968, he performed a blistering version of One Night. The song itself had 2 versions. The original, with the suggestive lyric, "One Night of Sin," had been deemed too risque for release in 1957. A tamer version was recorded. But here, in 1968, in front of a live studio audience, Elvis was done with being tame. He was going back to the source. The moment comes right at the beginning of the song. He strums his acoustic guitar, a little rusty, but full of intent. He sings the first line, "One night with you," and then he stops. He's made a small mistake, a false start. He looks over at his bandmates, a huge, infectious grin spreading across his face. He lets out a short, sharp laugh. "I messed up," he seems to say with his eyes. The audience laughs with him. Then he takes a breath and launches into the song for real, singing the original, forbidden lyric, "One night of sin is what I'm now paying for." That false start and the subsequent laugh are not on the official soundtrack album. You have to watch the footage to experience it, but it's a crucial moment. It's the sound of Elvis finding himself again. For years, he had been a product, carefully managed and packaged. In that moment, he was just a musician, playing with his friends, making a mistake, and laughing about it. It was spontaneous, it was real. The laugh is a release of all the pent-up frustration of the Hollywood years. It's the sound of pure, unadulterated joy. The chill comes from seeing the mask slip. The perfect, polished movie star disappears, and the charismatic, slightly dangerous kid from Memphis is back. He's relaxed, he's funny, and he's in complete command, even when he makes a mistake. The energy he projects in that moment is incredible. He's not just singing rock and roll, he is rock and roll. That little laugh is the sound of his own personal and artistic resurrection. It's the sound of a king reclaiming his throne, not with a proclamation, but with a simple, honest laugh. Number 17, what does it sound like when a voice breaks the rules? Surrender was another song Elvis recorded during the fruitful sessions for the Elvis Is Back album in April 1960. It was based on a 1902 Neapolitan ballad called Torna a Sorrento. The challenge was to take this piece of classical European music and turn it into an American pop hit. The arrangement is dramatic, with a bolero-like rhythm and a soaring melody. It required Elvis to use the full range of his voice, from the soft, tender verses to the powerful operatic climax. Elvis was a master of his own voice. He could manipulate it in countless ways. He could sing a sweet ballad, a raw blues number, or a driving rock song. He was also his own best harmony singer. He had an uncanny ability to hear and create backing vocal parts on the spot. He would often teach the parts to the Jordanaires by singing them himself. On Surrender, he did more than just teach the parts. He sang one of them himself. The moment is subtle, but it's there. Listen to the backing vocals, especially during the powerful chorus sections. You can hear the smooth, professional blend of the Jordanaires, but there's another voice in there, a high, soaring falsetto that weaves in and out of the main melody. It's a whoa-oh sound that adds a layer of operatic drama to the track. That voice is Elvis. He overdubbed his own high harmony part, pushing his voice into a register he rarely used as a lead singer. It's a chilling moment because it's a demonstration of his pure, raw musical talent. He wasn't just the guy at the front. He was a complete musician. He heard the entire arrangement in his head. He knew the song needed that extra lift, that touch of quasi-operatic flair to really sell the drama. And if no one else could provide it, he would do it himself. His falsetto is powerful and clear. It doesn't sound strained. It sounds like a natural extension of his incredible vocal gift. This moment shatters the myth of Elvis as just a charismatic performer. It reveals him as a savvy studio artist, a de facto producer of his own sound. He wasn't just following instructions, he was an active participant in the creation of his records. That high harmony on Surrender is a secret hidden in plain sight. You know, it's the sound of his boundless musicality, a voice that could not be contained by a single melody line. It's the artist as his own muse, his own best collaborator. Number 16, How Can Silence Be So Loud? If I Can Dream was the grand finale of the '68 comeback special. It was written by Walter Earl Brown at the last minute, specifically for the show. Elvis had been deeply affected by the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. in April of that year. He wanted to end his special with a song of hope, a plea for peace and understanding. He rejected the schmaltzy Christmas song the Colonel wanted him to sing and chose this instead. It was a brave and powerful statement. The recording session for the song was legendary. Elvis sang it live on the studio floor with a full orchestra. He poured every ounce of his being into the performance. His vocal is a tour de force, building from a quiet prayer-like whisper to a full-throated, gospel-infused roar. He sings with a passion and conviction that he hadn't displayed on record for nearly a decade. The moment that gives you chills comes at the very end of the song's emotional climax. He has just belted out the line, "Let it be peace and understanding sometime," with incredible power. The orchestra swells around him. His voice is raw, on the edge of breaking. He's physically and emotionally spent. The song then moves into its quiet coda, and in that transition, Elvis does something extraordinary. He sings the line, "Oh, let my dream come true," with a sudden, breathtaking softness. After the storm of the previous section, this sudden drop in dynamics is incredibly powerful. It's like the sun breaking through the clouds. His voice, which moments before was a roar of righteous anger and desperate hope, becomes a gentle, vulnerable plea. It's the sound of a man who has given everything he has and is now left with just a simple, quiet prayer. The control it takes to shift from a full-throated belt to a delicate, soft tone in a matter of seconds is immense. This moment is the entire emotional arc of the song in miniature. It's the rage against injustice, followed by the quiet hope for a better world. It gives you chills because of the stark contrast. You can hear him catch his breath, you can hear the physical toll the performance has taken on him. But you can also hear the unwavering sincerity in his voice. It's not a performance anymore, it's a testament. In that sudden moment of quiet, after all the noise, you hear the true heart of the man. It's the sound of his soul laid bare for the world to see. Number 15, what is the sound of pure exhaustion? By the mid-1970s, Elvis's health was in decline. The rigors of constant touring, prescription drug abuse, and a punishing schedule had taken their toll. His voice, however, remained a remarkable instrument, though it had changed. It had acquired a darker, heavier quality, a sense of lived-in weariness that could be devastatingly effective on the right material. Hurt, recorded on February 5th, 1976, in the Jungle Room at Graceland, was the right material. The song, a 1950s hit for Roy Hamilton, is a dramatic ballad of intense pain and regret. It was the perfect vehicle for the Elvis of 1976. He attacked the song with a ferocity that was shocking. He pushed his voice to its absolute limit, especially on the song's two big operatic endings. He sings the final lines, "I'm hurt, much more than you'll ever know," with a raw, desperate power. He holds the final note for an impossibly long time, his voice full of pain and rage. It's a titanic performance. But the most chilling moment isn't the big note. It's what happens immediately after. On the first of the two endings, after he has poured every last bit of energy into the climactic note, you can hear him completely lose his breath. He lets out an audible, gasping sound as he tries to recover. It's the sound of a man who has pushed himself beyond his physical capabilities. It's the sound of utter, total exhaustion. The producers could have edited that gasp out. They had the technology. But they left it in. It was too real, too powerful to remove. That sound tells a story that the lyrics alone cannot. It's the story of a man who is literally singing as if his life depends on it. He is using the song to exorcise his demons, to scream out his pain. The performance is so intense that it leaves him physically broken at the end. The gasp gives you a chill because it's a moment of unintentional, brutal honesty. It's a crack in the armor of the superstar. You are hearing the physical cost of his art. It's a frighteningly intimate sound. It reminds us that behind the legendary voice was a vulnerable mortal man who was in a great deal of pain. That small, desperate intake of air is one of the most honest and heartbreaking sounds he ever committed to tape. It's the sound of a man giving everything he has left. Number 14, Can You Hear a Guitar Weep? When we think of Elvis's sound, we think of his voice, but in the early days, his sound was just as defined by the guitar of Scotty Moore. Moore was not a flashy guitarist. He was a master of taste and texture. His minimalist, finger-picking style, blending country and blues licks, was the perfect counterpoint to Elvis's raw vocals. Their interplay was the foundation of rock and roll. Mystery Train, recorded at Sun Studio in July 1955, was their final Sun single. It was a cover of a blues song by Junior Parker. Sam Phillips and the band transformed it. They gave it a driving, relentless rhythm that sounds like a locomotive rolling down the tracks. It's a haunting, atmospheric recording. The moment that defines the track belongs to Scotty Moore. Throughout the song, his guitar lines are crisp and clean, weaving around Elvis's vocal. But during the instrumental break at around 1 minute and 10 seconds, he plays a solo that is otherworldly. It's not fast or complicated. It's a series of spare, ghostly notes drenched in Sam Phillips's signature slapback echo. The notes seem to hang in the air, full of space and suggestion. The sound is clean but has a mournful, almost crying quality. Moore is making his guitar sound like a train whistle echoing in the distance on a lonely night. It's a perfect piece of musical storytelling. He's not just playing a solo, he's creating an atmosphere. He's painting a picture of the endless, mysterious American landscape that the train is traveling through. It gives you chills because it's a moment of pure, unadulterated mood. The sound Scotty Moore gets from his Gibson guitar is unlike anything else at the time. It's the sound of the past and the future colliding. It has the soul of the blues and the energy of this new thing called rock and roll. That solo is a masterclass in economy. Every note matters. There is no wasted motion. It's a sound that would influence generations of guitarists from Keith Richards to Jeff Beck. It's the sound of a ghost on the tracks, a perfect, chilling piece of American Gothic. Number 13, what is the sound of the perfect pop moment? All Shook Up was a monster hit in 1957. It was recorded on January 12th at Radio Recorders in Hollywood. The song, co-written by Elvis and Otis Blackwell, is a masterpiece of pop construction. It's 2 minutes of pure infectious energy. The rhythm is relentless, driven by DJ Fontana's drumming and a percussive sound that was reportedly Elvis himself slapping the back of his acoustic guitar. The song is full of memorable lines and vocal tics, but there is one small, almost throwaway moment that encapsulates the entire feel of the song. It happens just after the first verse at around the 22-second mark. Elvis has just sung, "My hands are shaky and my knees are weak. I can't seem to stand on my own 2 feet." Then, before the next line, he tosses in a quick, almost spoken, "Oh yeah." It's not a big, powerful moment. It's a small ad-lib, a little piece of vocal punctuation, but it's perfect. That, "Oh, yeah," is pure, unadulterated cool. It's filled with a cocky, joyful confidence. It's the sound of a young man who knows he's on top of the world and is having the time of his life. It's playful, it's sexy, and it's completely effortless. The way he delivers it, with a slight slide in his voice, makes it incredibly catchy. It's a hook within a song already full of hooks. It's a moment of pure personality. It's not in the sheet music. It's just Elvis being Elvis, adding his own unique flavor to the track. It's a moment of connection with the listener, a shared wink, as if to say, you know the feeling, right? It gives you chills because it's the crystallization of his early charisma. In those 2 little words, you can hear the smile on his face. You can feel the energy that was driving teenagers crazy all over the world. It's a tiny detail, but it's the kind of detail that turns a good song into a classic, or undiluted fun. It's the sound of pure undiluted fun, captured on tape for eternity. It's the essence of 1950s rock and roll, distilled in a single perfect phrase. Number 12, can a song's meaning change in a single word? Can't Help Falling in Love is one of Elvis's most enduring ballads, recorded for the movie Blue Hawaii on March 23, 1961, at Radio Recorders. It's based on a French love song from the 18th century. It's a gentle, beautiful melody, and it became the closing number for most of his live shows in the 1970s. The studio version is a tender, almost fragile performance. Elvis sings the song with a sincere, straightforward emotion. His delivery is soft and controlled. He treats the lyrics with a quiet reverence. The song builds gently with a simple arrangement that keeps the focus entirely on his voice. The song is a declaration of inevitable, overwhelming love. The most powerful moment comes in the song's bridge. He sings the line, "Like a river flows, surely to the sea. Darling," so it goes. And then he delivers the key phrase, "Some things are meant to be." The way he sings the word "some" is what's so remarkable. He doesn't sing it clearly. He almost slurs it, letting it slide into the next word. It sounds like things. This isn't a mistake. It's a choice. A piece of phrasing that changes the entire feeling of the line. By slurring that word, he makes the line sound less like a grand philosophical statement and more like a private, intimate whisper. It sounds like a secret he is sharing with his lover. It's a moment of incredible subtlety. It makes the performance feel more personal, more real. It's as if he's so overcome with emotion that he can't quite enunciate the word properly. It gives you chills because it's a moment of masterful vocal acting. He's using a tiny imperfection in his diction to convey a deep and complex emotion. It's the sound of a man surrendering to his feelings. It's a beautiful, humanizing touch in a song that could easily become overly sentimental. That small, slurred word makes the grand, universal sentiment of the song feel intensely personal. It's a tiny detail that makes all the difference, transforming a pretty ballad into a timeless expression of love. Number 11. How do you find the blues in a leather suit? The sit-down segments of the 68 comeback special were a revelation. They were a reminder of Elvis's roots, of the raw bluesy energy that had been buried under years of Hollywood schmaltz. Dressed head to toe in black leather, he looked and sounded dangerous again. One of the highlights of these impromptu sessions was his performance of Reconsider Baby, a classic blues song by Lowell Fulson. This wasn't the first time Elvis had recorded the song. He had cut a fine version for his 1960 album, Elvis is Back. But this 1968 live version is something else entirely. It's raw, gritty, and full of spontaneous energy. He's playing a Gibson acoustic guitar, but the real fireworks come from his voice, and the stinging electric guitar fills from Scotty Moore. The moment that will stop your heart comes about halfway through the song. He's been singing with a cool, bluesy confidence. Then he gets to the line, "I'm gonna pack my clothes and leave you behind." He sings the line, and then, as Scotty Moore plays a sharp, crying blues lick, Elvis lets out a low, guttural growl. It's a sound that seems to come from the very bottom of his soul. It's not a word, it's not a note. It's the pure, undiluted sound of pain and frustration. That growl is the sound of the blues. It's the sound of a man who has been pushed too far. In that moment, he's not a rock star playing the blues. He is a bluesman. He's channeling all the hurt and disappointment of his own life, the death of his mother, the creative emptiness of the movie years into that one, raw sound. It's completely uninhibited. It's the sound of him reconnecting with the music that first inspired him, the music of the black artists he had listened to on Beale Street as a boy. And it gives you a chill, because it's so authentic. It's a moment of pure, spontaneous emotion. You can see it on his face as he sings. He's lost in the music, the black leather suit, the TV cameras, the live audience. It all melts away. For a few seconds, it's just him and the blues. That growl is the sound of his artistic rebirth. It's the sound of him coming home. Number 10, Can a Drummer Be a Co-Star? By 1972, Elvis was firmly established as a Las Vegas powerhouse. His live shows were legendary, backed by the incredible TCB band. At the core of that band's explosive sound was drummer Ronnie Tutt. Tutt wasn't just a timekeeper, he was a dynamic, powerful musician who drove the energy of the show. His interplay with Elvis was a key part of the performance. Burning Love, recorded in March 1972 at RCA's Hollywood studio, was Elvis's last great rock and roll hit. It's a relentless, driving song with a killer riff and a passionate vocal. It was a shot of pure adrenaline on the pop charts. The song kicks off with a blistering guitar riff, but the real engine of the track is Ronnie Tutt's drumming. The moment that defines the song's energy comes right before each chorus. The band builds tension, and then Tutt unleashes a furious, tumbling drum fill that propels the song into the next section. Listen, at the 45-second mark, he plays a rapid-fire series of rolls and cymbal crashes that are as exciting as any guitar solo. It's not just a fill, it's a statement, it's a burst of percussive energy that perfectly matches the fiery passion of Elvis's vocal. Tutt's drumming on this track is a performance in itself. He's not just supporting the singer, he's dueling with him. He's pushing him, challenging him. You can hear the connection between them. Elvis feeds off of Tutt's energy, and Tutt responds to the power of Elvis's voice. Those explosive drum fills are the sound of a band at the peak of its powers, a group of musicians who are perfectly in sync with their leader. It gives you chills because it's the sound of pure, unadulterated power. It's the sound of a rock and roll band firing on all cylinders. In an era when drummers were often buried in the mix, Ronnie Tutt's performance on Burning Love is front and center. It's a reminder that Elvis's magic wasn't just about his own talent, it was also about his ability to surround himself with brilliant musicians who could match his intensity. Those drum fills are the sound of a musical conversation, a thrilling, high-speed dialogue between a singer and his drummer. Number 9, What Does God's Voice Sound Like on a Record? And Elvis won 3 Grammy Awards in his lifetime. All of them were for his gospel music. This was the music that was closest to his heart, the music he grew up with. He sang it with a passion and sincerity that was often missing from his more commercial recordings. His 1967 album, How Great Thou Art, is a landmark of the genre. The title track is a towering performance, a testament to his faith and his vocal power. The song is a slow, majestic hymn that builds in intensity. Elvis sings, the first verses with a quiet, reverent awe. He is accompanied by a simple organ and the gentle harmonies of the Jordanaires. He is telling a story, setting a scene of wonder at the power of creation. The performance is controlled, emotional but restrained. But then comes the final chorus. The arrangement swells, a full choir joins in, the music builds to a massive, thundering crescendo. And over the top of it all, Elvis's voice soars. The moment comes at 2 minutes and 25 seconds. He sings the line, "Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee." And on the words, "How great thou art," he unleashes the full, terrifying power of his voice. He holds the final note, a sustained operatic high note that seems to shake the very foundations of the studio. It's a sound of overwhelming power and conviction. It's not just a man singing a song, it's a man having a profound spiritual experience and inviting you to share in it. The sheer force of his voice is breathtaking. The control he exhibits, holding that note with a perfect, steady vibrato, is a technical marvel. But it's the emotion behind the note that is so powerful. It is pure, unadulterated praise. It gives you chills because it feels like you are eavesdropping on a private moment between a man and his God. It's a sound of complete and total surrender to a higher power. It transcends genre. You don't have to be religious to be moved by the passion and sincerity of this performance. It's the sound of a human voice pushed to its absolute limit in the service of an idea. It's one of the most powerful and awe-inspiring moments he ever recorded. Number 8, Can You Hear the First Shot of a Revolution? July 5th, 1954. Sun Studio, Memphis. A young Elvis Presley, along with guitarist Scotty Moore and bassist Bill Black, was in the studio for a demo session. They had been trying to find a sound, cutting a few country ballads without much success. The session was going nowhere. Sam Phillips, the producer, was about to pack it in. Everyone was frustrated. During a break, Elvis, just to let off some steam, started fooling around. He picked up his guitar and began singing an old blues number called "That's All Right," written and originally performed by Arthur Big Boy Crudup. But he didn't sing it like a bluesman. He sang it with a frantic, upbeat energy, almost twice the speed of the original. Bill Black joined in on his upright bass, slapping the strings to create a percussive rhythm. Scotty Moore added some fast, country-style guitar licks. Sam Phillips was in the control booth. He heard this strange, new sound coming from the studio. He stuck his head out the door and said, "What are you doing?" They told him they were just goofing around. Phillips said, "Well, find a place to start and do it again." He hit the record button. The moment that gives you chills is the very first thing you hear on that recording. Elvis's voice drenched in Sam Phillips' slapback echo singing, "Well, that's all right, mama." His voice is young, high, and full of a nervous, joyful energy. It sounds like nothing that had come before it. It wasn't blues, it wasn't country, it wasn't pop. It was something new, something that didn't have a name yet. The slapback echo on his voice makes it sound otherworldly, like a voice from the future. It's the sound of a kid who doesn't know the rules, so he just breaks them all by accident. The performance is loose, spontaneous, and full of a raw, uncontainable excitement. You can hear them inventing a new musical genre in real time. That opening line is the birth of rock and roll. It's the sound of a cultural explosion. It gives you chills because you are listening to history being made. It wasn't planned, it wasn't calculated. It was a happy accident, a moment of spontaneous creation, born out of frustration. It's the sound of a door being kicked open, a sound that would change the world forever. Number 7, How Does a Man Say Goodbye to Himself? Separate Ways was recorded on March 27th, 1972. It was a deeply personal song. Elvis's marriage to Priscilla was over. They had separated a month earlier. The song, co-written by Red West, one of Elvis's oldest friends, was a direct reflection of his own life. It's a sad, mournful ballad about the end of a relationship and the impact on a child. The performance is one of his most understated and heartbreaking. He doesn't belt it out. He doesn't resort to melodrama. He sings it with a quiet, weary resignation. His voice is soft, and you can hear the pain in every syllable. It's the sound of a man who is heartbroken, not just for himself, but for his family. The most devastating moment comes in the second verse. He sings the lines, "Somehow we'll get by, but the tears will be cried by the little girl who's not to blame." When he sings the phrase, "the little girl," his voice almost cracks. There is a tremor in it, a wavering that is not a technical vibrato, but the sound of genuine, overwhelming sadness. In that moment, he's not Elvis Presley, the superstar. He is a father thinking about his daughter, Lisa Marie. The line is no longer just a lyric in a song, it's a direct expression of his own personal tragedy. The pain in his voice is palpable. It's an incredibly vulnerable moment, one where the line between the artist and the man completely disappears. It gives you chills because it's so painfully real. You are hearing a man's heart break on a record. The rawness of the emotion is almost uncomfortable to listen to. It's a performance devoid of any artifice. He's not acting. He's living the song. That slight crack in his voice, that moment of vulnerability, is more powerful than any loud, dramatic display of emotion could ever be. It's the quiet sound of a family coming apart. Number 6, what does a king sound like when he's just a guy in the band? The $1 Million Quartet session was a pure accident. On December 4th, 1956, Elvis Presley, who was by then a massive RCA star, dropped by his old stomping grounds, Sun Studio in Memphis. Carl Perkins was in the studio recording. A young, unknown Jerry Lee Lewis was playing piano on the session. Johnny Cash was also there. Sam Phillips had the foresight to turn on the tape machine. What followed was not a formal recording session, but a spontaneous jam session. The four men sang gospel hymns, country songs, and old rock and roll hits. The tapes are a fascinating document, a glimpse behind the curtain. Elvis is not the star here. He is just one of the guys, a member of the band. He sings harmony, he plays some piano, he laughs and jokes with his friends. There are many great moments on the tapes, but one of the most revealing is their performance of the gospel song, Peace in the Valley. Elvis takes the lead vocal, but he's not singing with the polished perfection of his later gospel recordings. He's singing in a loose, relaxed style. The chilling moment comes in the harmony vocals. You can hear Elvis, Jerry Lee, and Carl Perkins trying to find their parts, their voices blending together in a rough, unpolished way. At one point, Elvis's high tenor voice soars above the others, a pure, sweet sound. It's not a lead vocal, it's a harmony part. He's just trying to find the right note to complement the other singers. It's a moment of pure, unadulterated musical joy. It gives you a chill because you are hearing Elvis Presley not as an icon, but as a musician. You are hearing him do what he loved most, singing gospel music with his friends. There is no pressure, no audience, no expectations. It's just four young men from the South sharing the music that formed them. In that rough, beautiful harmony, you can hear the pure, simple love of music that was at the core of everything he did. It's the sound of him being completely and totally himself. Number 5, can a grown man sound like a lost child? Kentucky Rain, recorded in February 1969 at American Sound Studio, is a story song. It's a cinematic tale of a man searching for his lost love in the middle of a cold, rainy night. The production is big and dramatic, with a driving piano line played by Ronnie Millsap, a powerful rhythm section, and a full string and horn arrangement. It's a mini-movie in 3 minutes. Elvis's vocal performance is a masterpiece of dynamic control. He starts the song with a quiet, desperate tone, his voice full of weariness. As the story builds, his voice gains in power and intensity, reflecting the growing desperation of the narrator. He is a man on a mission, racing against time. The moment that will break your heart comes near the end of the song. The music swells to a climax. He has just sung the line, "But I've got to find her and tell her I love her," his voice full of power and determination. And then the music pulls back slightly, and he sings the central plea of the song, "Kentucky rain keeps pouring down, and up ahead's another town that I'll go walking through with the rain in my shoes." When he sings the words, "with the rain in my shoes," his voice cracks with emotion. It's a sound of utter desolation. He sounds like a lost, lonely child. The powerful, determined man from a few seconds earlier is gone, replaced by someone who is on the verge of giving up. It's a moment of complete vulnerability. You know, the image he creates is so vivid. You can almost feel the cold rain and the squish of water in his shoes. It's a chilling moment because of the brilliant vocal acting. He's not just singing the words, he is embodying the character. He is making you feel the physical and emotional misery of the narrator. The crack in his voice is a perfect piece of storytelling, conveying a sense of hopelessness that words alone could not express. It's the sound of a man at the end of his rope, with nothing left but the cold, relentless rain. Number 4, what does a studio feel like just before the magic happens? Most hit records are polished products. By the time we hear them, all the mistakes, the false starts, and the studio chatter have been edited out. We are left with the perfect finished version. But sometimes a little bit of the process, a little bit of the reality of the recording studio is left in. Is A Big Hunk o' Love was recorded in Nashville on June 10th, 1958. Elvis was on leave from the army. This was one of his last recording sessions before he shipped out to Germany. The song is a driving piano-pounding rocker. It's pure energy. The band is on fire. The master take, the one released as a single, begins with a few seconds of studio chatter. You can hear the drummer, DJ Fontana, hitting his sticks together to count off the tempo. Then you hear an engineer's voice, slightly distorted, say something like, "Take 4, let's go." And then, most importantly, you hear Elvis himself, his voice clear and present, say, "My fingers are not working, but..." For a few seconds, you are not listening to a 60-year-old record. You are in the studio with Elvis Presley and his band in 1958. You are there in the moments just before they cut a legendary rock and roll track. His comment, "My fingers are not working," is a humanizing moment. Even the king of rock and roll had off days. It's a small complaint, a moment of doubt, immediately followed by an explosion of confidence and power. It gives you chills because it's so immediate. It breaks the fourth wall. It reminds you that these iconic records were not created in a vacuum. They were made by real people in real rooms with real problems. That little piece of studio talk makes the performance that follows even more exciting. It's the sound of the fuse being lit, the moment of quiet before the storm. It's a rare, accidental glimpse of the man behind the microphone. Number 3, can a whisper be the loudest thing in a song? The 1950s were not a subtle time for rock and roll. The music was loud, brash, and full of youthful energy. But Elvis was never just a rock and roller, he was a balladeer of incredible sensitivity. Don't. A song written by Lieber and Stoller is one of his most intimate and seductive performances. It was recorded at Radio Recorders on September 6, 1957. The arrangement is sparse and bluesy, built around a piano, a stand-up bass, and the soft harmonies of the Jordanaires. The mood is late-night quiet and intensely personal. Elvis sings the song in a soft, breathy voice. He's not projecting to a large audience. He's whispering in the ear of a lover. The most electrifying moment in the song is not a loud one. It's the quietest. It comes in the lines, "If you think I don't desire to kiss your lips and more." When he sings the phrase "and more," he drops his voice to an almost inaudible whisper. It's a sound that is loaded with suggestion and intimacy. It's incredibly sensual without being explicit. That whispered "and more" is a moment of pure genius. It's a masterclass in vocal control and interpretation. He understands that sometimes the quietest sound can have the biggest impact. The whisper draws the listener in, creating a sense of shared secrecy. It's a moment of incredible tension and release. In a world of loud guitars and shouting vocals, this moment of quiet intimacy was revolutionary. It gives you chills because of its raw, understated power. It's the sound of seduction, pure and simple. It's a moment that demonstrates his incredible instincts as a performer. He knew exactly how to use his voice to create a mood, to tell a story, to evoke an emotion. That one tiny whispered phrase contains a world of meaning. It's a perfect example of how sometimes, less is so much more. Number 2, what does the end of the world sound like? By June 1977, Elvis was a very sick man. He was overweight, and his body was ravaged by prescription drug abuse. His last concert tour was a sad affair with a man who was often a shadow of his former self. But even in this diminished state, his voice could still produce moments of breathtaking power and beauty. The proof is in his final televised concert special, Elvis in Concert. During a show in Rapid City, South Dakota, on June 21st, 1977, just weeks before his death, he sat down at the piano to sing Unchained Melody. He was not a great pianist, but he could play well enough to accompany himself. The performance is almost unbearable to watch. He is sweating profusely, his face is pale and puffy, and he struggles to catch his breath. He looks like a man who is dying. And then he starts to sing, and the voice that comes out is a miracle. It is huge, powerful, and full of a raw, desperate emotion. He pours every last ounce of his remaining life force into the song. The performance builds to an incredible operatic climax. The moment that will haunt you forever comes at the end. He sings the final line, "I need your love. God speed your love to me." On the final word, me, he unleashes a note of such power and passion that it seems impossible that it could come from this sick, broken man. He holds the note, his voice soaring over the audience, a sound of pure, desperate longing. It's a cry for help, a prayer, a last, defiant roar against the dying of the light. His hands tremble on the piano keys. A backup singer has to hold the microphone for him, but the voice is still there. The voice is immortal. It gives you chills because you are witnessing the end. You are watching a man sing his own eulogy. The contrast between his physical appearance and the power of his voice is devastating. It's a moment of an almost supernatural seeming strength. It's the sound of a man's soul trying to escape his failing body. It is one of the bravest and most heartbreaking performances ever captured on film. It's the sound of a legend saying goodbye. Number 1, can you hear a man become a legend? Hound Dog is one of Elvis's most famous songs, but the version that most people know, the fast, aggressive one released on a single, was not the first time he performed it. The moment that truly cemented his status as a cultural earthquake came a month before that record was even made. It happened on national television on the Milton Berle Show on June 5th, 1956. He had performed the song before, but on this night he did something different. He sang the first part of the song at a fast tempo, but then, for the second half, he instructed the band to slow it down to a grinding, bluesy, burlesque tempo. The music became slow, slinky, and suggestive, and Elvis began to move. He gyrated his hips, he swiveled. He thrusted, he moved with a sensuous, almost violent energy that had never been seen on mainstream television before. It was a purely physical expression of the music, but the sound that accompanied these movements is what's so important. As he sang the slow, bluesy lyrics, he punctuated them with a series of low, guttural growls and moans. The moment comes when he sings the line, "You ain't nothing but a hound dog," at the new, slow tempo. He doesn't just sing it, he growls it, he sneers it. It's a sound that is dripping with contempt and a raw, untamed energy. It's the sound of rebellion. It's the sound of the old world being swept away. The growl is not just a vocal affectation. It is the sonic equivalent of his hip movements. It's the sound of pure, unadulterated rock and roll. This performance caused a national scandal. Critics called him vulgar, obscene. They said he was a danger to the youth of America. And they were right. He was dangerous. He was dangerous to the bland, repressed, conformist culture of the 1950s. That growl on the Milton Berle Show was the sound of a cultural revolution. It was the moment that a country singer from Mississippi became the most controversial and exciting performer in the world. It gives you chills because it's the sound of the future arriving, uninvited and unapologetic. It's the sound that changed everything. It's the sound of Elvis Presley becoming a legend, not on a record, but live, in front of a shocked and terrified nation. And it was perfect.